Welcome to the Daily Commercial Forum. I am your host, Sandy Moore. Foster parents give children in crisis a safe, temporary home and much-needed love. They are our everyday heroes. Today, we will talk about how you can also help children in need. Our guests are Rosemary Marano-Jones, foster parent recruiter, and foster parents Chris and Alicia Johnson. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Thank you for having us. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, I want to start with Chris and Alicia. Tell us a little bit about your story. What made you get involved in having foster kids? Has it always been, you woke up, when you were little, you thought, I'm going to do this. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, total opposite of that. We have three biological children, three biological daughters, and we were content with our little family and thought everything was great with that. But when we moved to Claremont, actually, we met a couple families that were foster families that were actually a part of our church that we had gotten started there. And so through that, we kind of became aware of the need for foster families. We started just kind of doing what we could do to help support these families and help meet needs that they may have with serving their children and caring for their kids. And at the same time, God was kind of working in our hearts. And my wife had been listening to a radio program about fostering and adoption, and just kind of perked something in her. At the same time, I pastor a church, and I was preparing a sermon series through the book of James, and there's a verse in chapter 1 of that book that basically speaks that pure religion, a true relationship with God, involves caring for those that are fatherless. And without that, are you really having a right relationship with God? And so as a pastor preparing a sermon, it's easy sometimes to preach to your church, but when you're really just, a verse grips your heart, and God would not let us get past that. And so I came to her not knowing that at the same time she had been thinking and praying on the same things. We came together, started just really thinking, what does that look like for our family? What does it look like to care for the fatherless? What does that mean to us? Is it enough just to support others, or would God have us do something more? And through a lot of discussion, a lot of prayer, a lot of investigating, we sat down with our daughters, wanted to make sure it was a family decision, that they were on board.
How old were your daughters when you first started?
At that time, they were probably ranging from 5 to 12. Yeah, about 5 to 12 at that time. And but wanted to make sure that they were on board, because this is a part. I mean, they're key components in this, and making sure they're surrendering time with mom and dad. They're sharing their bedrooms. They're giving of a lot. So we wanted it to be a family decision. And so through the course of that, we just felt like it was what we were supposed to do. That we needed to just kind of take that step and go to the next step and begin fostering.
Well, and I probably got ahead of myself, because really I think there may be somebody that's watching this that doesn't even know what a foster parent is or what that is. I feel like it's such a common term that's not the case, but will you just tell us, what is a foster parent?
Well, foster parents are parents who have room in their home and room in their heart, first and foremost. They understand the need for abused, neglected, and abandoned children across Florida to have a safe place, a place where they're loved, supported, and sheltered. Foster parents take children in on predominantly a temporary basis. That could be for a week, it could be for a month, it could be for a year, it could be forever, it could be for a lifetime. Chris and Alicia and I are on different ends of the spectrum. I actually was a foster parent myself as a single woman with no children. I became a foster parent and an adoptive parent. My son is 35 years old now, and he's been with me since he was 15. So we just hit our 20th anniversary. Foster parents, you are a parent above all.
Right.
You're a mom and a dad. You open your home and your family to children who need you, and all that implies. And sometimes you're able to adopt through the program. But I think it's important to stress that with our quality parenting initiative that we have, we're always trying to partner really closely with biological families, because whenever there's an opportunity for us to reunite that family unit, we're going to try to do that. No matter, and I think Chris and Alicia can tell you, whether the child is with you for a month or 3 years, that you really are their forever parent.
Yes,
I mean,
sure.
I certainly feel that with children that have been gone from my home for 20 years. There's still a part of them that stays and a part of you that goes with them. So it needs to be parents who are open to being able to love them and let them go.
Yeah.
Well, and a key component of being a good foster parent, a quality foster parent, is the ability to take a child and help them get to the next place and better. than they were when they came into your home. Our desire is always for those children first and foremost to be reunited with their family. That's what is the best case scenario. And so whatever we can do as a foster parent to care for that child and help parent that child and help he or she deal with the struggles, the abuse, the loss, all the different things that they're having to go through, whatever we can do to help them deal with that so that they are more prepared to go back to their family in a better situation. But then also what we can do to come alongside their biological parents and help them be better parents so that they're more prepared to receive that child back into their home as well. So you've got to have that mindset that, okay, here's a child coming to me. What can I do to help the environment, to help this family, to help this child be better when they leave my home?
Well, and that takes a special type of a person to
Sure.
really be able to do it, because I know that there is a human nature, in some ways a selfish, thing where you start to love that kid,
Sure.
and you want to end up making them yours, and that could lead to even sometimes sabotaging
Absolutely.
a situation, which you don't ever want that to
Right.
happen.
Right.
So I think that talking about that is so important. It reminds me of the Angels in the Outfield movie, if you ever saw that, with
love it.
the woman who,
Yes.
she knew what her place was to take care of these kids. This is my place right now is to be your temporary mom until your parents get their feet under
Right.
under them. Never did she kind of cross that line. Not to say she didn't love them as much as if they were her own.
Right, absolutely.
But at
well,
the
we
same
were,
thing.
you can tell what we were told from the very beginning, because we struggled with that. How do you love
Yes.
these kids and give them back?
Right.
It's not about you.
That's-
It's not
that's
about
what we're-
you.
yeah, that's the key.
It's what's in the best interest of these children that is most important. And I have no greater thrill in life than to love one of these children, another mother's child, and give them the full benefit of the Johnson home for however long they are in our home. And we do take great joy as a family in loving these children and coming beside those family members and just being the support that they need to get their child back.
Well, and they, in turn, I would guess, their family becomes stronger because of that support that you're giving them.
Absolutely.
You're not working against them, you are working
Absolutely.
with them.
Absolutely.
And I would say that this is a hard thing to teach foster
Well,
parents. I'm thinking, okay, we've got the shining stars here. I know that they're not on this.
They really are our shining stars. They're the poster children for foster parents. But the bottom line is, and we talk about this a lot with Chris and Alicia, with Chris being a pastor. When God calls you to do this, people go, I don't know if I can do it. I'm so scared.
Yeah.
And the thing that I like to remind people is God doesn't always just call the qualified.
Yes.
Right.
If He calls you to it, He'll qualify you to do it.
That's right.
And there is never a time that a foster child leaves your home that it isn't going to be traumatic for you and your
Absolutely.
family.
It's not
But
easy.
there's a joy in it too. And we look at our foster parents as a bridge to the future. You're that bridge that's taking them from this place they're in right now through no fault of their own. They've been ripped away from everything that they know. And even in the worst situations of abuse or abandonment or neglect, most of these children want one thing and one thing only, and that's to go home.
They do.
It's the only home
No matter
they
how
know.
bad the home was.
Right.
They just
Yeah.
want to go home.
And they want to know that their mom and dad, their biological ones, still loves them.
Yes.
And you have to foster
about
that
them.
while you are their foster. And of course I can recognize just what shining stars you are, because I used to be a foster parent, so I know a lot about the system. So it really is. There are a lot of great foster parents out there, but this mindset is not always easily taught, because a lot of times it's easy to be very selfish and but I love them. I really want them, and I think
It's
that it's
hard.
best for them to be here, but
Right.
to
And there
really
are
be
some
able
that
to do
think
that.
well, I'm just going to foster just to adopt.
Right.
I mean, there are some that have that mindset. And sometimes that works and sometimes that happens. But if you go into it with the mindset that that's going to be the case, you may be disappointed.
Well, and I
Right.
think that that's probably when you're a lot more likely to sabotage, even
Yes.
if you're well-meaning and not
Absolutely.
trying to sabotage
Yes.
the birth parent.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be pointing out anything and everything that they do wrong, I would say.
And a lot of things have changed in the system, so to speak. We've only been fostering about 4 years, but we have a lot of friends that have been doing it a lot longer. And from everything I can see, talking with people, understanding, being involved in the system now, this is the great time in Florida to be a
Yes,
part
it
of the
is.
foster care system. We've got a great secretary. He and his wife are passionate about kids and families. And a lot of things we just this year, some key legislation was passed. Probably the biggest one is called the Normalcy Act, which is the let parents be parents, let kids be kids kind of thing, where it really gives foster parents the opportunity to parent these foster children as our own kids. Removes a lot of the red tape that we used to have to go through.
Right.
And there is a huge push with the Quality Parenting Initiative on us coming alongside those biological parents and doing some co-parenting and teaching them the skills and helping them in that. And so if you're thinking, being a foster parent means you're babysitters and that's it, and you have a caseworker that comes and does everything, then this probably isn't for you, because that's not really the direction and not really the where things are now. But if you have a heart that loves kids and you want to parent these kids alongside their biological parents to help facilitate greater change in their family, then yeah, it's awesome. It's a great thing.
So talk to me a little bit about, and maybe start with you, Rosie, and then you all please just jump in, about the need for foster homes in our area. I mean, where do we stand right now with the need? Is it always going to be there?
The need's always going to be there, and we can talk numbers, but they're living organisms. Those numbers change daily. And, as we stand here today or sit here today, we've got 46 licensed foster homes in Lake County with 110 beds. We have 97 children in Lake County that are placed currently in foster care, out-of-home care of some sort. Not all of them are placed in Lake County right now, because even though we have more beds than we have children, we really need about 3 beds for every child. There's a number of reasons why a specific home may not be the right home for that child. The child may have an allergy to dogs or cats, and they've got dogs or cats. The child may have come from a situation where they can't be in a home with teenagers or smaller children, and they have teenagers or smaller children. So it may be a sibling group of 3 children, and that foster home only has 1 bed open. And so if we put a child there, we've now split a
the
sibling
siblings
group
up.
up, which is terrible. That's a horrifying. I mean, just imagine with your own children being, for whatever reason, removed from their home, and now you take them away from their siblings too. It's just heartbreaking.
Right.
So
and you still have to do that quite a bit, though, right?
we still are having we work really hard. We'll even overcap a home if we need to, as Chris and Alicia know. If we need to get a sibling group put together, we will do whatever it takes. But many times here in Lake County, that means the child's now going out of county. The child's either going to a home in Marion County, Sumter County, Citrus County, or Hernando County.
Or oftentimes they end up in a group home.
Or they end up in a
Because
group
that's the
home,
only place.
which is not what we're
Not ideal.
hoping
Yeah.
children will grow up
Right.
in a residential type.
Maybe for a week it might be
It's
a
not
good
bad for a
Band-Aid,
week,
but not
Not-
so.
It's not a
yeah.
family unit.
Right, right, absolutely. Well, tell me, what are the types of people that you're looking for as far as foster parents?
Well, first of all, you need to be 21 years old, and you have to have a stable income. We don't allow foster parents to be on any sort of public assistance, so no food stamps, no unemployment. Foster parents can be retired, and they can be on Social Security, but it has to be a stable income for them. They can either own a home or rent a home. You do not have to be married. You can be married or single. You have to be able to love, and you have to have room. There needs to be a bed in your home for each child that you're licensed for. We don't share beds. We can do bunk beds, but we don't do trundle beds.
Right.
And even babies need to have their own crib. And then you need to go through a screening process. If we were going to place your child in someone else's home, you would want to make sure that we had done everything possible to make sure that this was going to be a safe environment for that child. So we're going to do background screenings, FBI, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, fingerprinting, every state that you've ever lived in. We're probably going to go back and find your grandparents' DNA somewhere. We're going to look for it anyway, and
Which is a very good thing.
it is. And we're going to ask for financial statements, and then we're going to do some home studies, home inspections. We're going to have health inspectors come and make sure that your home is safe. If you have a pool, that you and everybody in your home has gone through water safety training. Florida requires radon testing. And we're going to make sure you got fire extinguisher, and you're going to work with our licensing specialists. And more importantly, to the things in your home, they're going to watch the way you interact as a family.
Sure.
If you're married, if you have other children. And then We put you through 30 hours of MAP training, Model Approach to Positive Parenting. You guys remember that. The MAP class is 10 weeks long, 3 hours a week. It's mandatory. Parts of that 3 hours are done in your home as part of the home studies. But the most important part, I think, in a MAP class is you're meeting with other like-minded individuals, just like you, who are also in this process because they want to help children. And that's a huge part of the curriculum, is watching how everybody interacts together and shares. You peel a lot of layers of yourself off when you go through the process of becoming a foster parent, because we want you to peel those layers off. When these children come into your home, you're going to be peeling those layers off of them little by little too. And the foster parent recruiter who recruited me many, many years ago, I was 12 at the time, but she said they come to us like little prickly porcupines, and our job is to love them smooth. And I think that's evident.
Why do you think that people, and this might be a question you could answer too, but why do you think people are afraid, or what do you think people's biggest fears are as far as being a foster parent? What do you?
I was going to say maybe because they don't think, because now listening to Rosie, if I was on the other side, that sounds impossible. There's too much work behind there. I could never do it. It sounds like a lot, but honestly, it's not. It's easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Ditto.
And most importantly, you have to think about the child who needs that loving home to come beside them and keep them safe while their parents are working on their case plan. So if you can make it about the kids and keep that child your focus, then all this other stuff is just easy. It really does.
Well, and I'm sure it's not always, it can't always be easy, because I know I had foster kids that came into my house, and
No, it's not.
no, we're not all lovable at
The foster parenting
times.
is not easy.
No, there were definitely times when it was very difficult to love them
Sure.
at the time.
And they don't always love you back right
No,
away either.
no.
Rarely do they. Rarely do they.
Rarely do
Well,
they.
you're dealing with children that have been severely hurt and are dealing with a loss that kids this age should never have to deal with.
yeah.
So absolutely, I think the preparation part and the licensing process is somewhat easy to go through. I mean, it gets aggravating. You get a lot of paperwork, a lot of questions, a lot of intrusive questions. You're thinking, why am I getting asked this question again? But that process, you work through that. The actual parenting, yeah, there are some days where you want to pull your hair out, you want to throw your hands up and quit, you want to run for the hills.
Isn't that the norm as a parent?
I was just fixing to say
Yeah,
exactly. There are days, the same days with my own biological children as well.
You're pulling your hair out.
Yes, you are.
What you have to keep coming back to is your mission, why you're doing what you're doing. I think Alicia said it's about that child, and that child oftentimes, most of the time, that child is in this situation to no fault of their own. We get upset at their behaviors, we get frustrated at their behaviors, but when we stop and realize what they've gone through, they need unconditional love. I'm so thankful that God loves me unconditionally, and how can I not love this child, this innocent child, unconditionally? And so I want to do everything I can to provide a safe environment for them to work through their issues, to get through those. And yeah, there are some days where we've looked at each other and said, is it worth it? Why are we doing what we're doing? And on those days, you have to come back to why. And that's why it's so important that you know why you're doing this. If you're just getting in it because you think it looks glamorous or because you think that would be fun,
right.
then that's not going to sustain you. You're not going to make it on those days that are tough.
Well, and I would think that it would be important to also understand yourself as to
Most definitely.
what type of a kid you can relate to. An interesting thing with my husband and I is really we had two different visions of what kind of kid. He was the troubled teenager. Let me take him, and he
Wow.
could take him out in his Jeep, and he did stuff with him, and I wasn't. It wasn't as comfortable for me in that way. But I know that there are people out there thinking, well, I could see being the foster parent to a younger child and being able to nurture them and tuck them into bed and maybe read stories to them, and do all those things that I had as a child. But I don't want somebody to just drop a 15-year-old at my doorstep if that's not what I am.
We are always going to try to shoot for the match, for the right match, which is why we're looking for 3 homes for every child. So
Right.
we have some
That's why that
choices
number is
there.
so important.
When I started out as a single mom, I thought, just give me children that are like 5 to 11 years old. And I started with that. And then they called and said, we've got a teenage boy for you, and he's 15 years old. He's how old? What am I going to do with a 15-year-old boy? Well, he's 35 now, but I found that I had an amazing affinity for teenagers. And after that, that's what I did. I took teens in. It worked for me as a single mom, and it worked with my life. And that's what worked for me better as a single mom, even than school-age children. Let me tell you that the highest need that we have is for teens and sibling groups. Because a lot of people think, oh, I want to get in and I want the Gerber baby. We don't get a lot of Gerber babies. And typically when babies come into our system, there's been some sort of substance abuse involved, and so those children
They
are
scream
pretty
for hours and
special
hours.
needs, and that's pretty intense parenting there. But we're going to try to match you as a foster parent with the children that would do the best in your home. We don't want a disruption. We don't want to put children in your home and then
That aren't gonna work out.
in 3 weeks it's not the right placement. Now they're getting moved again.
And a lot of the training process, getting ready to be a foster parent, we work through that as well. You'll identify and you'll start to learn things about yourself, and you'll even meet children. You'll meet other foster families, and you can talk with them and ask questions and find out. So a lot of that's one of the reasons the process does take a little while, because we don't want to just jump right into it. We want you to be able to learn yourself, learn your family dynamics, so that you are a right fit for the children that'll be coming in the future.
Well, and the reason why I say this is because I want to paint a realistic picture
Absolutely.
for people.
Yeah.
I think it's important that I know that every foster parent, I guarantee, goes in with an idealistic thought of how this is going to be. I'm going to take Oliver Twist, and I am going to give them the home they've always wanted.
They're gonna love me and
me.
love my kids and
They're
my
going to
family.
become the professional football player.
Right.
Blindside, and we're going to all live happily ever and sing Kumbaya.
It's not like
But
that.
they're not Oliver Twist in most
No,
cases. They're the Artful
right.
Dodger. Comes to your home.
No, but at the same time, I learned real quick. I'm not going to have breakable things anymore. I mean,
Yes.
Waterford
Sure.
crystal is no longer in my house
Sure.
because it broke immediately.
Yes.
Those kind of things. But not to say that isn't worth it. But I think it is identifying. Are you the type of person that can offer this to somebody?
Sure.
That
And it
type of a
isn't
thing?
for everybody.
No.
But it is for folks who feel a calling. And if our viewers are feeling this inside, then they need to contact us, because we want to talk to them more.
And while you're saying that, because I know, where would be the place that they need to contact?
Well,
since we're
they
on this
can
right
call me direct. My office line direct is 352-387-3424, and that's in Marion County. So if you're calling from Lake County, you would need to dial 1. Or they can go right to our foster parents landing page, which is www.kidscentralfosterparents.org. And there's actually a form they can submit online, and then we'll contact them. But we'll talk to them anytime about all of what's happening. We do an orientation once a month for our entire Circuit 5 area, where we bring folks who are interested together. And if they are willing to take the next steps after that orientation, then we start the whole process with them. It's about a 4 to 6 month process, so it's not something you're not gonna call today
And get a kid tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not like going to the Humane
Now,
Society.
once you get that
there
license,
for
you're going to get a call pretty quick.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe before the ink is dry on the license.
Now, how many foster kids have you all had, Chris and Alicia?
We've had about 20 kids over the years. We mentioned earlier we have our 3 biological daughters. We since have adopted 5 children. Not everyone that fosters adopts.
And how old are your kids now, your biological, and then the ones that you've adopted?
16, 14, and
10 next week.
right,
On
are 3 biological girls. And then the 5 that we have adopted are 19, 18, 16, 5, and 2.
Oh.
They
Only-
run the gamut.
Only
They
one
run
of
all.
those actually was a foster child in our home.
Right.
Only our currently 2-year-old. We got her at 6 weeks. We were her foster parents, and really worked and with her family. But she's now part of our forever family. The others were all, we just knew of them in different ways. Maybe there were some families in our church that were fostering them. Our most recent adoption that just finalized last month was actually a 16 and 17-year-old brother and sister. He just turned 18 last week. He was about to age out of the system, but they had been in a group home in South Florida for 6 years. So some of them we heard of and found out, but yeah, we're privileged and tremendously blessed.
Now, is there is a help, for foster parents. I think that's maybe important to mention that, yes, you do need to have a stable income and that you shouldn't rely on that to be your income, but you're not necessarily out there on your own
No.
from then on out,
No.
as you're talking about all these kids that you're coming in. Tell us just a little bit, because we are running
Foster
low on-
parents do receive a stipend reimbursement that they get monthly. They're paid by the day for each child, and that payment changes with the age of the child. It's not nearly enough, but it is something to help with the support of that child. They also, most of the children in care are on Medicaid, so they get medical care, dental care, and foster parents are also reimbursed for mileage. When they're driving them to
remember
court. That must be new. Maybe we could do that retroactive. My boss will kill me for that one. They are going to be reimbursed for mileage if they're taking them to doctor's appointments or court. Though a lot of times some of those things will be handled by a case manager. But it's the most important thing in this is that it's your mission to raise the child.
And it can't be motivated by that, but I think that is I think that's important
good
to
help.
know
Yes.
that
Sure.
there is help
And it
for
is a team.
Because the last thing you want, I know when I had foster kids, I'm sure, is for them to stick out and look like foster kids when they're in your family.
Right.
So you want to be able to provide for them in the same way that you would.
And typically, and Chris and Alicia will agree with this, a foster child suitcase is a little plastic bag from Publix or Walmart. That's what they come with their
Working
stuff
hard
in.
at the state
That's pretty
association to
good,
change that,
because
though.
we had trash bags at
Trash
Trash
bags.
bags.
Well,
that's-
actually, the Florida State Foster Adoptive Parent Association has started a new initiative where we are trying to provide every child in foster care in the state of Florida with an actual duffel bag suitcase. Great initiative that
Absolutely.
we're working toward. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes, those children will come at, if some sort of horrific situation happened at 2 o'clock in the morning and the sheriff's department and the child protective investigators removed a child at front then, and we do call foster parents at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they bring a child. Now you have a child who's been taken from their home. Their stuff has been stuffed into a plastic bag. They probably don't even have their teddy bear, and they have no idea where mom and dad are, and their dog isn't. They're not with their dog
Right,
or their
all of these
kitty or anything. And it's the trauma of that still just floors me. And so when we look at what foster parents are doing, they're really everyday heroes. They're our modern
Absolutely.
angels.
Well, and we mentioned this before we started the show, that this probably could be, a series of shows in and of itself, and of course we've run out of time now. But I do appreciate all of your dedication to foster parenting, and I know it's very, I can tell you all are the shining stars, just with the attitude, and appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you. It's our privilege.
Thank you for having us here.
you.
And again, folks can give me a call at 352-387-3424, and we will help get you into the process and see if it's for you.
This gives them a little taste, and they can get more information there. Very good.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.